If my daughter had just said good morning instead of demanding my savings, she would be a millionaire today. She chose to scream instead. Now, watch what happens when she finds the envelope I left on her quartz countertop. The air in the basement always smelled of wet earth and forgotten things. My daughter, Linda, insisted on calling it the garden suite whenever she spoke to her friends on the phone. She would lower her voice to that breathy, impressive tone she reserved for her book club members and say, "Oh, yes, Mother is settled quite comfortably in the garden suite. It gives her so much independence." I looked at the small, rectangular window high up on the wall. The only garden visible was a rusted window well filled with 3 years of dead oak leaves and a single, stubborn dandelion that had died weeks ago. The glass was clouded with condensation. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and the light coming through was gray and weak, filtering down like it was afraid to touch the floor. I sat on the edge of the mattress. It was a twin mattress, the one Linda had kept from my grandson Leo's bunk bed after he outgrew it. The springs squeaked if I breathed too deeply. I smoothed the quilt over my knees. It was a patchwork quilt I had sewn myself 30 years ago, one of the few things from my old life that had made it into this house. In my hands, resting quietly against the faded cotton of the quilt, was a holy Bible. It was leather-bound, the cover cracked and worn soft from decades of handling. I opened it to the Book of Psalms. There, pressed between 2 pages of thin, gold-edged paper, was a plastic Ziploc sandwich bag, and inside the bag was a slip of thermal paper. I stared at it. It looked so ordinary. Just a flimsy piece of paper with black ink printed by a machine at a gas station. It had a barcode at the bottom and a series of numbers in the center. 04, 11, 19, 33, 42. And the Powerball? 7. I knew those numbers better than I knew the phone number of the house I was living in. I had played them every week for 10 years. They were birthdays, anniversaries, house numbers from a time when I had my own front door. I closed the Bible gently. The leather cover made a soft thud. $18 million. I said the words in my head because saying them out loud felt dangerous. The walls in this house were thin, and Linda had ears like a bat when she thought there might be something in it for her. $18 million. 3 days ago, I had walked to the corner gas station to buy my morning newspaper. It was my only luxury. Linda complained that I should just read the news on my phone, but I liked the feel of newsprint. I liked the smell of ink. It reminded me of the library. I had spent 45 years as a librarian, organizing chaos into the Dewey Decimal System, preserving silence, ensuring that every story had a place. I bought the paper. I bought the ticket. I put the ticket in my purse next to my reading glasses. That night, I watched the drawing on the small television set Linda allowed me to keep in the basement. It was an old set with a fuzzy picture. I watched the balls drop. I checked the ticket. I checked it again. I put my reading glasses on. I checked it a third time. I did not scream. I did not faint. I sat in the broken recliner that Greg, my son-in-law, had dragged down here when the spring broke, and I felt a strange, cold calm wash over me. It was the calm of a woman who realizes that the cage door has been unlocked for the first time in 3 years. I did not tell them. That was the first decision I made. I did not run upstairs to the kitchen where Linda was likely complaining about the color of the backsplash. I did not call Greg, who would be sitting on the sofa watching sports and pretending he did not have $50,000 in credit card debt. I stayed silent. The next morning, I called Mr. Sterling. He was the estate attorney who had handled the library's endowment fund years ago, a man who wore 3-piece suits and spoke in whispers. I told him the numbers. I heard him stop breathing on the other end of the line. "Beatrice," he had said, "do not sign the back yet. Put it in a safe place. Do not tell a soul. Come to my office on Thursday. We will set up a trust. We will keep your name out of the papers. Thursday. That was tomorrow. Today, I was still just Beatrice the burden. Beatrice the tenant. Beatrice who paid $800 a month from her small pension to live in a basement that smelled of mildew. I heard the front door slam upstairs. The house shook. It was a new build in Naperville, put up quickly by developers who cared more about curb appeal than structural integrity. Every time the front door closed, the vibration traveled down the support beams and rattled the pipes in my ceiling. I cannot believe this. That was Linda. Her voice was a high, sharp instrument. It could cut through floorboards. I heard the heavy thud of her purse hitting the quartz island in the kitchen, then the click-clack of her heels on the hardwood. She wore expensive shoes, Italian leather, bought on credit. Linda believed that if you dressed like you had money, the money would eventually get confused and show up. "Greg, are you home?" Silence. Greg was likely still at the office or parked around the corner, sitting in his car, dreading the moment he had to walk through the door. I did not blame him. I slid the Bible under my pillow. I stood up and smoothed my skirt. I walked to the small kitchenette in the corner of the basement. It consisted of a mini fridge that hummed too loudly and a hot plate that took 20 minutes to boil water. Linda did not want a stove down here. She said it was a fire hazard. I suspected she just wanted to make sure I had to come upstairs to cook dinner for them. I checked the time. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I needed to start peeling the potatoes. I walked to the stairs. They were uncarpeted wood, steep and narrow. I climbed them slowly, my hand gripping the rail. My knees ached when it rained, and it had been raining for a week. When I opened the door at the top of the stairs, the smell of sawdust hit me. The kitchen was a disaster zone. Linda had decided 3 months ago that the kitchen, which was perfectly functional and only 5 years old, was dated. She needed a chef's kitchen. She needed a waterfall island. She needed a 6-burner range imported from France. Currently, she had a hole in the floor and a sheet of plastic hanging over the dining room entrance. Linda was standing in the middle of the debris, clutching her phone. She was 40 years old, but in moments of stress, she looked like a toddler who had been denied a cookie. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, but her face was twisted into a mask of pure panic. "Mother," she said, seeing me. She did not say hello. She never said hello. "Did Mr. Kowalski come by today?" "He did," I said. "He arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning." "And? What did he say?" "Is the plumbing fixed?" I walked to the sink, the temporary utility sink they had set up, and began to wash my hands. "He said there is a problem." Linda threw her hands up. "Of course there is a problem. There is always a problem. What is it now? The tile? The grout? The mold?" I said quietly. Linda froze. "Behind the old dishwasher line," I explained. "He opened the wall. He said it is black. He said he cannot close it up until it is remediated. He said it is a hazard." Linda's face went pale. "Remediated? That sounds expensive." "He left an estimate," I said. "It is on the counter." Linda snatched the piece of paper from the stack of mail. Her eyes scanned the numbers. I watched her throat move as she swallowed. $5,000, she whispered. $5,000 just to clean a wall? She looked up at me, her eyes wild. "This is extortion. He is trying to rob us." "He showed me the wall, Linda," I said. "It is black. It smells like the basement." "Do not talk about the basement," she snapped. "The basement is fine." She paced the small strip of floor that was not covered in debris. "I do not have $5,000. We are maxed out on the renovation loan. Greg's bonus does not come until March. I cannot stop the work now. If we stop, he will pull his crew and go to another job. We will be living with a hole in the floor for months." She stopped pacing. She turned to look at me. I knew that look. I had seen it many times over the last 3 years. It was the look of a predator assessing the weakest member of the herd. "Mother," she said. Her voice changed. It became softer, sweeter. It was the voice she used when she wanted me to babysit Leo on a Saturday night so she could go to a gala. "You have your savings." I dried my hands on a dish towel. "I have my emergency fund, Linda." "Right," she said, stepping closer. "Your emergency fund. How much is in there now?" 7,000. 8? 9,000, I said. "I have saved it from my pension checks. $50 at a time." 9,000, Linda repeated. She licked her lips. "That is perfect. It is more than enough." "Enough for what?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "To pay Mr. Kowalski," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "You can write him a check tomorrow. Then he can finish the wall, and we can get the cabinets installed next week." I stood very still. I clasped my hands in front of me. "Linda, that money is for my future." "Your future?" She laughed. It was a sharp, brittle sound. "Mother, you live here. Your future is here. You do not have expenses. We pay the mortgage. We pay the electric. We buy the food. I pay rent," I reminded her. $800 a month. And I buy the groceries for the meals I cook. $800 is a token." She waved her hand dismissively. "Market rate for an apartment in this school district is $2,000. We are subsidizing you." Subsidizing. Another word she liked to use. "I am saving that money for a nursing home," I said steadily. "Or for medical care. I am 70 years old, Linda. I will not be able to climb those stairs forever. I will not be able to live in that basement forever. I need security." "You have security," she shouted. The sweet voice was gone. "You have family. We are taking care of you. Why are you so selfish?" "Selfish?" I repeated. "Yes, selfish." She stepped over a pile of lumber to get closer to me. She was looming over me now. She was tall, like her father, and she used her height like a weapon. "We are drowning here, Mother. Drowning. We are trying to build a nice home. A home where you live. And you are sitting on $9,000, like a dragon sitting on gold, watching us struggle." "I am not watching you struggle, Linda. I am watching you spend." Her face turned red. "How dare you? You do not know what it costs to maintain a lifestyle in this neighborhood. You do not know the pressure." "I know that you leased a new Range Rover last month," I said calmly. "I know that you went to Cabo San Lucas for 10 days in the spring. I know that this kitchen was perfectly fine before you decided you needed quartz that looks like marble. You are judging me?" She poked a finger at my chest. It hurt. "You are judging me. You, a librarian who never made more than $40,000 a year? You lived like a pauper your whole life, and now you want to lecture me on finance?" "I lived within my means," I said. "And because of that, I have savings. Savings that you are going to give me," she snarled. "Because if you do not, Mr. Kowalski walks. And if he walks, this house stays a construction zone. And I will not live in a construction zone, Mother. I cannot give you the money, Linda." "Cannot or will not?" "Will not," I said. "It is my safety net. If I give it to you, I will never get it back. I know this." "Oh, so now I am a thief." "You are not a thief, Linda. You are simply bad with money. If I give it to you, it will disappear into the wall, and next month there will be another emergency. The roof, the car, the credit card bill, and I will be 70 years old with $0 in the bank." "You will have a roof over your head. For how long?" I asked. "Until you decide the basement needs to be a home theater? Until you decide I am too much work? Linda stared at me. Her chest was heaving. She looked at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. It was a shocking thing to see on the face of your own child. I had wiped that face when it was covered in applesauce. I had kissed that face when she scraped her chin on the pavement. "You are useless," she whispered. The room went quiet. Even the refrigerator stopped humming. "What did you say?" I asked. "I said you are useless," she screamed. The volume returned, louder than before. "You are broke and useless. You wander around this house like a ghost. You haunt my basement. You contribute nothing. You are a parasite, Mother. A parasite." I felt a coldness spread through my chest. "I cook your meals," I said softly. "I clean your laundry. I scrub your toilets because you fired the cleaning lady to save money. I help Leo with his homework." "Leo is 16, she yelled. "He does not need your help. And I can hire a maid. A maid does not look at me with judgment every time I buy a pair of shoes. A maid goes home at the end of the day. You are just here. Always here." She turned away from me, grabbing her purse off the island and throwing it down again just to make a noise. "I want that check," she said, her back to me. "I want it on the counter tomorrow morning before I leave for work. $9,000. Make it out to Miller Renovations." "And if I do not?" I asked. She turned back around. Her eyes were cold. "Get out. Yes, get out. If you cannot contribute to this family, you cannot be part of it. If you are going to hoard your money, you can go use it to pay rent somewhere else. See how far $9,000 gets you in the real world. See how long it lasts in a nursing home. They will eat that up in 2 months. And then you will be on the street." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "You think you are independent? You are nothing without me. You are an old woman with no husband, no house, and no value. You exist because I allow you to exist. So you will pay your share, or you will leave." She stood there, breathing hard, waiting for me to crumble. She expected me to cry. She expected me to reach into my pocket and pull out my checkbook, trembling with fear at the thought of being cast out. I looked at her. I looked at the lines of tension around her mouth. I looked at the expensive highlights in her hair. I looked at the fear behind her eyes, the fear of a woman who has built a life on a foundation of debt and appearances, and who is terrified that the wind is about to blow it all down. I felt the weight of the Bible under my pillow downstairs. I felt the phantom weight of the thermal paper inside it. $18 million. I could write her a check for $5,000. I could write her a check for $500,000. I could pay off her mortgage, pay off her cars, fix the mold, and send her to Paris for a month. I could save her. But saving her now would only destroy her later. And it would destroy me. She did not want a mother. She wanted an ATM. And when the ATM was empty, she would kick it to the curb. She had called me a parasite. She had called me useless. I took a deep breath. I let the air fill my lungs, smelling the sawdust and the expensive perfume she wore. "I understand," I said. Linda blinked. She looked confused by my tone. It was too calm. It was not the surrender she wanted. It was something else, though she did not know what. "You understand what?" she demanded. "I understand my position," I said. "And I understand your terms." "Good," she said, straightening up. She smoothed her blouse. She thought she had won. She thought I was agreeing to write the check. "Put it on the counter by 7 o'clock in the morning. I do not want to have to ask again." "You will not have to ask again," I said. She stared at me for a moment longer, looking for a crack in my composure. She found none. I had 45 years of practice keeping my face blank when people tried to argue about overdue fines. "Fine," she said. "I am going to change. Make sure dinner is ready by 6. Greg is starving." She turned on her heel and marched out of the kitchen. I heard her footsteps going up the second flight of stairs to the master bedroom. I heard the door slam shut. I stood alone in the ruined kitchen. I looked at the hole in the floor. I looked at the plastic sheeting. I looked at the quartz countertop where she expected to find a check for my life savings in the morning. "Okay, Linda," I whispered to the empty room. I turned off the faucet at the utility sink. I wiped the counter. I did not start peeling the potatoes. Instead, I turned around and walked back to the basement door. I descended the stairs into the damp, dark quiet of the garden suite. I sat back down on the bed. I pulled the Bible out from under the pillow. I opened it to the book of Psalms. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." I touched the plastic bag. I picked up my phone, an old model with a cracked screen, and I dialed a number I had written down on the back of a bookmark. It rang twice. "Sterling Law Office, good afternoon." A woman's voice answered. "This is Sarah speaking." "Hello, Sarah," I said. My voice was steady. "This is Beatrice Reynolds. Please put me through to Mr. Sterling. Tell him I'm ready to move up the timeline." "One moment, Miss Reynolds." I waited. I looked at the single dandelion in the window well. It was dead, yes, but its seeds were waiting to fly. "Beatrice." Mr. Sterling's voice came on the line. It was warm and rich, like expensive mahogany. "I did not expect to hear from you until tomorrow. Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine, Mr. Sterling," I said. "Oh," he sounded concerned. "Are you having second thoughts?" "No," I said. "I am leaving." "Leaving?" "I need the movers," I said. "The service you mentioned, the white glove service. Can they be here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?" "I can arrange that," he said. "But Beatrice, where are you going?" "You mentioned a property," I said. "The Meridian, the serviced apartments downtown. Yes, I represent the owners. They have a penthouse suite available immediately, fully furnished. It is quite opulent." "Does it have a library?" I asked. "It has a study with floor-to-ceiling shelves, yes. And a view of the lake. And security? 24-hour doorman. Private elevator. Good," I said. "I will take it." "Beatrice," he said gently, "that unit is $12,000 a month." "I can afford it," I said. He paused. I could hear the smile in his voice when he answered. "Yes, Beatrice, you can afford it 100 times over." "Excellent. Book it. And, Mr. Sterling? Yes, draft a letter for me. I will dictate it to you now. I want it ready for me to sign when I get to your office tomorrow afternoon after I move in." "I have my pen," he said. I took a breath. I looked at the ceiling one last time. I listened to the sound of Linda walking around upstairs, the heavy, confident footsteps of a woman who thought she owned the world. "To Linda Miller," I began. "Regarding the eviction notice given verbally on Tuesday, November the 14th, I spoke for 5 minutes. Mr. Sterling took down every word. When I was finished, I hung up the phone. I did not cook dinner. I pulled my old suitcase out from under the bed. It was dusty. I wiped it off with the edge of my sleeve. I opened the closet. I took out my 2 good blouses. I took out my wool cardigan. I took out the comfortable shoes I wore to the library. I packed. I did not pack everything. I left the clothes I wore to clean the house. I left the apron. I left the ragged slippers. I packed my books. I had 3 boxes of them under the bed. Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, Agatha Christie, my friends. I stacked them by the door. At 6 o'clock, I heard Greg come home. I heard the garage door open and close. I heard him walk into the kitchen. "Linda, where is dinner? Why is the kitchen dark?" I heard Linda's muffled voice from upstairs. Then Greg's heavy footsteps, coming to the basement door. He opened it. "Beatrice?" he called down. "Is the stove broken? Linda said you were making a pot roast." I sat on the bed, my hands folded in my lap, the suitcase hidden behind the recliner. "I am not feeling well, Greg," I called back. "I am going to sleep early." "Oh," he said. He sounded annoyed, not concerned. Annoyed. "Well, what are we supposed to eat?" "There is pizza in the freezer," I said. He sighed. A long, loud sigh to let me know I had inconvenienced him. "Fine. Feel better." He closed the door. I sat in the dark. I listened to them order takeout. I heard them laughing about something an hour later. The argument about the money apparently forgotten or postponed. They slept soundly that night. They slept the sleep of the entitled. I did not sleep. I sat in the broken recliner, clutching my Bible, watching the digital clock on the microwave count down the minutes. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, the alarm went off upstairs. I heard the shower. I heard the coffee grinder. At 7 o'clock, Linda came to the top of the stairs. She knocked once, hard. "Mother!" she yelled through the door. "On the counter, before you leave the house today. I will not forget," I whispered. At 7:30, the garage door opened. The Range Rover backed out. Then Greg's sedan. The house went silent. I stood up. I walked to the kitchenette. I made myself a cup of tea. I drank it standing up. Then I picked up the phone and dialed the number for the high school. "Attendance office," a voice said. "Hello," I said. "This is Beatrice Reynolds. I am Leo Miller's grandmother. I need to sign him out for an hour this morning. Family emergency." "I see," the woman said. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is going to be perfect," I said. "I will pick him up at 9. I hung up. I looked around the garden suite. It was ugly. It was damp. It was a prison cell that I had paid for. But it was also the place where I had become a millionaire. "Goodbye," I said to the mold in the corner. "You are Linda's problem now." I picked up my purse. I checked for the ticket one last time. It was time to go. The house was silent after the garage door rumbled shut. But it was not the empty silence I was used to. It was the silence of a stage before the curtain goes up. I checked my watch. It was 7:45 in the morning. I had exactly 8 hours before Linda returned to demand her check. I did not waste a minute. I walked out to the driveway and climbed into my sedan. It was a 20-year-old Toyota that Greg had been urging me to sell for scrap metal for months. He said it was an eyesore parked in front of their custom-built home. I turned the key, and the engine coughed before catching. Faithful, just like me. I drove to North High School. It was a 10-minute drive past manicured lawns and houses that all looked exactly the same, beige, imposing, and hollow. I pulled into the visitor lot and walked into the main office. The secretary knew me. I had dropped off Leo's forgotten lunches enough times. "Mrs. Reynolds," she said, smiling. "I will call him down." I waited by the glass doors. 5 minutes later, Leo appeared. He was 16, gangly, wearing a hoodie that was too big for him, his backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked tired. He had his father's height, but none of his father's arrogance. He had my eyes. "Grandma?" he asked, pushing the door open. He looked worried. "Is everything okay? Did she say something to you again?" He knew. He always knew when Linda was on a rampage. He heard the yelling through the floorboards just as clearly as I did. "Everything is fine, Leo," I said. I motioned for him to follow me outside to a concrete bench near the flagpole. The wind was cold, but the sun was trying to break through the clouds. "I signed you out for an hour," I said. "I wanted to give you something." "Grandma, you don't have to give me anything," he said, sitting down next to me. I know Mom is pressuring you about the renovation money. I told her it was stupid. I told her the kitchen was fine. I know you did, I said. I reached into my oversized purse. And I appreciate you defending me. But this is not about the renovation. I pulled out a small, wrapped box. It was the size of a paperback book. I had bought it yesterday at the electronics store after I bought the ticket, using the last of my cash on hand. Leo took it. He tore the paper carefully. An e-reader? He asked, his eyes widening. The new waterproof one? Grandma, this is expensive. You shouldn't have. I want you to read, I said. I want you to read books about people who go on adventures, people who build their own lives. Do not just read the textbooks they give you in there. Thank you, he said. He looked at me, really looked at me. But why now? Are you going somewhere? I took a deep breath. I reached into my purse again and pulled out a heavy, cream-colored card. On it was printed Sterling and Associates, attorneys at law. On the back, in my neat cursive, I had written a personal cell phone number. I am moving out, Leo, I said. His face fell. Did she kick you out? I will talk to Dad. I will tell him. No, I interrupted gently. She did ask me to leave. Yes, but I am choosing to go. And I am not going to a shelter, Leo. I am going somewhere very nice. Where? To the city, I said. To a place with a view of the lake. A place with a library. He looked confused. But how? Mom says you are. He stopped himself. Broke? I finished for him. Useless? He looked down at his sneakers, ashamed on his mother's behalf. I am not broke, Leo. And I am certainly not useless. I have had a change in fortune, a very significant change. I pressed the card into his hand. I cannot tell you the details yet. It is better if you do not know when you go home tonight. But I want you to keep this card. Hide it. Do not show it to your mother. If you ever need anything, if you need books, if you need tuition, if you just want to talk, you call Mr. Sterling. He will connect you to me immediately. Grandma, you are scaring me, he said. Did you rob a bank? I laughed. It felt good to laugh. No, I just finally checked out the right book. Listen to me, Leo. I have set up a trust for you. Mr. Sterling manages it. When you turn 18, you will have enough money to go to any college you want. You will not need to rely on your parents. You will be free. His mouth opened slightly. Free? Yes. Now, give me a hug. You have to get back to class. He hugged me. He smelled of drier sheets and teenage anxiety. I held him tight for a moment, memorizing the feeling. He was the only thing in that house I would miss. I love you, Grandma, he whispered. I love you too, Leo. Now go. Be brilliant. I watched him walk back into the school. He looked back once, waving. I waved back. Then I got into my car and drove back to the house. I had work to do. At 9 o'clock, exactly, a white van pulled into the driveway. It did not look like a moving van. It looked like a catering vehicle. There were no logos on the side. 2 men in gray uniforms stepped out. They wore white gloves. Mr. Sterling did not exaggerate. Mrs. Reynolds? The taller one asked. We are here for the transition. Come in, I said. We are going to the basement. They followed me down the stairs. They did not bang the walls. They did not scrape their boots. They moved like ghosts. I am taking the books, I said, pointing to the boxes I had stacked. I am taking the tea set in the corner cabinet. I am taking my clothes. Everything else stays. Understood, the man said. They worked efficiently. They wrapped my china in silk paper. They placed my books in reinforced bins. They took the quilt from the bed. I watched them pack my life into 6 boxes. It was a small life, measured by volume, but it was heavy with history. "What about the furniture, ma'am?" the other man asked, pointing to the stained mattress and the broken recliner. "That belongs to the house," I said. "Leave it." They carried the boxes up the stairs and out to the van. It took them less than 30 minutes. When they were gone, I stood alone in the garden suite. It was empty now, stripped of the small touches of color I had tried to add over the years. Now it was just a gray, damp room with peeling paint and a window that looked at dirt. I went to the utility closet. I took out a bucket, a mop, and a bottle of lemon cleaner. Linda had called me a parasite. She had said I was useless. She had implied that I was a dirty old woman, cluttering up her pristine home. I would not give her the satisfaction of finding a single speck of dust. I scrubbed the floor on my hands and knees. I wiped down the baseboards. I cleaned the inside of the mini-fridge until it looked new. I polished the window glass, even though there was nothing to see outside. I cleaned for 2 hours. My back ached. My knees burned. But I did not stop until the room smelled of lemons and hard work. When I was finished, I placed the mop bucket back in the closet. I took one last look around. The room was sterile. It looked as if no one had ever lived there. Perfect. I walked up the stairs for the final time. I locked the basement door behind me. I walked into the kitchen. The sun had shifted, and a beam of light was hitting the plastic sheeting, making the dust in the air dance. I went to the island. The quartz was cold under my fingers. It was a beautiful stone, I had to admit. Linda had good taste, even if she had to steal from her mother to pay for it. I reached into my purse and pulled out the cream-colored envelope Mr. Sterling had prepared for me. It was thick and heavy, made of cotton paper. It had a wax seal on the back. Inside were 3 pieces of paper. The first was a photocopy of the winning lottery ticket, enlarged so that the numbers were unmistakable. The second was a printout from Mr. Sterling's bank, showing a pending wire transfer to the Beatrice Reynolds Revocable Trust in the amount of $18 million. The third was a handwritten note. I had written it the night before, sitting in the recliner while they slept. I took the note out and read it one last time to make sure my handwriting was steady. "Linda, you asked me to leave a check for $9,000 on the counter. I could not do that. It would have been a lie to say that I supported this renovation or the way you have treated me. You called me broke. I have attached a document to correct that error. You called me useless. I have fixed that problem as well. I will no longer be useless to you because I will no longer be here to be used. Do not come looking for me. Mr. Sterling has instructions to file a restraining order if you attempt to contact me at my new residence. Leo has my number. If you want to speak to me, you will have to earn the right. It may take a long time. The basement is clean. You can put your home theater in now. Goodbye. Mother." I folded the note. I put it back in the envelope. I placed the envelope in the exact center of the island, right where she told me to leave the check. I looked at the clock on the stove. It was 12 o'clock. My ride was here. I walked to the front door. I opened it and stepped out onto the porch. The air was crisp. It smelled of wet leaves and freedom. A black Lincoln Town car was idling at the curb. It was sleek and shiny, a stark contrast to the muddy construction trucks parked at the neighbor's house. The driver, a man in a black suit named James, saw me and stepped out immediately. He walked up the driveway, not running, but moving with a purpose. He took my small, personal bag from my hand. "Mrs. Reynolds?" he asked. "Ready for the city?" "I am very ready, James," I said. He opened the back door for me. The interior was leather, soft and smelling of vanilla. I slid in. The seat was heated. I looked out the window at the house. It was a big house, a pretentious house. a house that tried very hard to convince the world it was happy. I saw the window of the guest room where Linda kept her collection of designer purses. I saw the garage where Greg hid his credit card bills. I saw the basement window, dark and low to the ground. I felt a pang of sadness, but it was a small thing. It was the sadness of leaving a book you thought you would love, but realized halfway through was poorly written. You do not mourn closing it. You just put it back on the shelf. To the Meridian, ma'am? James asked, looking at me in the rearview mirror. Yes, James, I said. And please, take the scenic route. I am in no hurry. He nodded and put the car in gear. We pulled away from the curb smoothly. I did not look back. I watched the road ahead. I watched the suburban sprawl give way to the highway, and then the highway give way to the skyline of Chicago rising in the distance like a promise of iron and glass. I reached into my purse and touched the Holy Bible. The ticket was still there, safe, but the real prize was not the paper. The real prize was the silence in my head where Linda's voice used to be. We arrived at the Meridian at 2:00 in the afternoon. It was a tower of glass overlooking the lake. The doorman, a man in a top hat and tails, opened the car door. Welcome home, Mrs. Reynolds, he said. Home. I walked into the lobby. It had marble floors and a chandelier that looked like a frozen explosion of diamonds. Mr. Sterling was waiting for me by the elevators. He looked exactly as I remembered. Sharp, kind, and expensive. Beatrice, he said, taking my hand. You look radiant. I feel lighter, Mr. Sterling, I said. About 150 pounds lighter, he chuckled. Your things have already been brought up. Shall we? We rode the elevator to the 42nd floor. The doors opened directly into the penthouse. It was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the gray expanse of Lake Michigan. The furniture was cream and gold. And there, on the far wall, was the library, shelves upon shelves of dark wood, waiting to be filled. There was a rolling ladder. There was a velvet armchair by the window. I walked over to it. I ran my hand along the wood. Is it to your liking? Mr. Sterling asked. It is perfect, I said. The paperwork is on the desk, he said. The trust is active. The Lottery Commission has been notified. We claimed the prize anonymously through the trust this morning. The funds will be available within 48 hours. Thank you, Arthur, I said, using his first name for the first time, and regarding your daughter. He hesitated. And she will be finding the note in about 3 hours, I said, checking my watch. She gets off work at 5. I have my staff on standby, he said. If she calls, we will handle it. She will call, I said. She will scream. She will cry. She will threaten. I turned to look at him. Let her. I stood by the window of the 42nd floor and watched the sun begin to dip behind the skyscrapers. From this height, the city looked like a circuit board of light and motion, silent and orderly. I held a cup of Earl Grey tea in a china cup that was not chipped. I did not have to wash it immediately. I did not have to dry it. Freedom is a quiet thing. It is not fireworks. It is the ability to sit still without worrying that your stillness is inconveniencing someone else. I checked the grandfather clock in the corner of the library. It was a beautiful piece, mahogany and brass, provided by the rental service. It chimed the quarter hour, 5:15 in the afternoon. 30 miles away in Naperville, the garage door was opening. I did not need to be there to see it. I had lived that routine for 3 years. I knew exactly how Linda entered a house. She did not walk in. She announced herself. She would slam the car door. She would unlock the door to the mudroom with a heavy, aggressive twist of her wrist. She would drop her keys in the bowl with a clatter that sounded like a gunshot. She would be expecting the smell of pot roast. She would be expecting the sound of water running in the sink. She would be expecting me, her gray and silent mother, to be standing there ready to take her coat and listen to her complain about her assistant. But today, she would smell lemons. I took a sip of tea. It was hot and comforting. In my mind, I walked through the house with her. I imagined her stopping in the hallway, frowning. The house was too quiet. The air was too clean. There was no humidity from boiling potatoes. "Mother?" she would call out. Her voice would be sharp, impatient. "Why is the kitchen dark?" She would walk into the construction zone. She would see the plastic sheeting hanging still. She would see the hole in the floor. She would assume I was sulking in the basement. She would march to the door of the garden suite. She would throw it open and stomp down the stairs, ready to scream about the check, ready to demand her $9,000. I closed my eyes and listened to the silence in my penthouse. I imagined her hand on the light switch in the basement, the fluorescent lights flickering on, and then the shock, the room empty, the mattress stripped bare, the broken recliner sitting alone like a monument to neglect. The books gone, the clothes gone, the shelves wiped clean. No dust, no clutter, no mother. Just the smell of lemon cleaner and the damp earth that she could never quite renovate away. She would run back upstairs. Panic would start to prick at her throat. Not panic that I was missing, but panic that her servant had quit without notice. Then she would see it, the cream-colored envelope sitting on the quartz island. The only thing on the counter. I set my teacup down. My phone, sitting on the marble side table, lit up. 5:22 in the afternoon. The screen flashed Linda Mobile. I let it ring. I watched it vibrate against the marble. 5 seconds later, it started again. I picked up the phone, but I did not answer. I turned the ringer off. I placed it face down. I walked over to the bookshelf and ran my finger along the spine of a first edition of Bleak House. I had always loved Dickens. He understood that money was a character in every story, usually the villain. At 5:30, my landline rang. It was the phone Mr. Sterling had installed on the desk. I picked it up. "Beatrice Reynolds," I said. "Beatrice, it is Arthur Sterling." His voice was calm, almost bored. "She has called the office." "That was fast," I said. "What did she say?" "She was spirited," Mr. Sterling said diplomatically. "She demanded to know where you were. She claimed you had been kidnapped or were having a mental health crisis. She demanded to speak to you immediately regarding a financial matter." "Did you tell her?" "I told her that you were safe, sound, and sitting in a residence that you had leased with your own funds. I told her that you had retained me as your primary counsel, and that all future communication must be in writing." "And the lottery?" I asked. "She mentioned the photocopy," Mr. Sterling said. "She seemed to think it was a fake. She screamed that her mother does not gamble. She said you were trying to trick her to get out of paying for the wall." I laughed softly. "She cannot imagine a world where I have power, Arthur. It does not fit her physics." "I corrected her," he said. "I confirmed that the ticket was verified, the trust is funded, and the photocopy she holds is a legitimate record of an $18 million asset." Silence? "For about 10 seconds, he said, then screaming. "Mostly it's someone named Greg. Thank you, Arthur. Keep the gate closed." "Tight as a drum, Beatrice. Enjoy your evening." I hung up. I walked to the balcony doors and opened them. The wind off the lake was cold, but it felt clean. I wrapped my cardigan tighter around myself. I pictured Linda standing in that half-finished kitchen, holding the paper that proved I was richer than she would ever be. She would be doing the math. Linda was always doing math, but she was bad at it. She would be calculating $18 million minus the $5,000 she had screamed for. She would be realizing that yesterday she had a mother who would have given her everything if she had just asked with kindness. And today, She had nothing. At 6 o'clock, the texts began to flood my cell phone. I glanced at them. Mother, pick up the phone. This is not funny. Where are you? Greg is freaking out. You need to come home and explain this. Is the ticket real? Call me. We are family. You cannot just leave like this. I was stressed yesterday. I didn't mean it. We need to talk about the trust. You need someone to help you manage that much money. Mr. Sterling is going to steal it. You need family. Pick up. I deleted them, one by one. Delete. 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 It was a satisfying motion, like sweeping dust out the door. At 7 o'clock, Greg called. I let it go to voicemail. I listened to it later. He sounded drunk. Beatrice? B? Look, Linda is losing it. Man, is this real? 18 million? Why didn't you say anything? We could have fixed the house. We could have done so much. You can't just cut us out, B. I drove you to the doctor that one time. Remember? Call me back. Please. I deleted that one too. I ordered dinner from the room service menu. Lobster bisque and a warm baguette. I ate it sitting in the velvet armchair, watching the lights of the city. I did not peel a single potato. 3 days later, the buzzer rang. I checked the monitor. It was Leo. I pressed the button to let him up. When he walked off the elevator, his eyes were wide. He was holding his backpack in front of him like a shield. He looked around the penthouse. At the marble floors, the art on the walls, the view of the lake. Grandma? He whispered. Hello, Leo, I said. Come in. Do you want a soda? I have the glass bottles, the expensive kind. He walked in slowly, stepping carefully on the rug. This place is insane. Is it yours? It is mine for as long as I want it, I said. He sat down on the sofa. He looked exhausted. How is the house? I asked. He let out a long breath. It is a war zone. Mom has not stopped crying for 3 days. She fired the contractor. She said she cannot afford him anymore. She could not afford him before, I noted. She keeps reading that note, Leo said. The one you left. She keeps saying, I never said she was useless. I was just motivating her. Motivating me, I said dryly. Is that what she calls it? Dad is sleeping in the guest room, Leo continued. He told Mom that she cost them a fortune, he said. He said she chased away the winning lottery ticket. They are fighting about money nonstop. Dad admitted he has credit card debt she didn't know about. Mom screamed that he ruined her credit. It is a mess. I am sorry you have to live in that, Leo, I said gently. It is okay, he shrugged. I stay in my room. I read the e-reader you gave me. I read The Count of Monte Cristo. It felt appropriate. I smiled. A classic for a reason, he looked at me. Mom wants to come see you. She asked me where you were. She tried to follow me today, but I took the bus to the train station and made sure she wasn't behind me. You are a smart boy, I said. Mr. Sterling has sent her a letter. She is not allowed in this building. The doormen have her photograph. She says she is going to sue you, Leo said. For grandparents' rights? Or elder abuse? She says you are incompetent, and she needs guardianship. Let her try, I said calmly. I have just passed a full competency exam with a neurologist that Mr. Sterling arranged yesterday. I am sound of mind, Leo, and I have the best lawyers in the city. Leo looked at the view. She just wants the money, Grandma. She doesn't miss you. She misses the check she thinks she deserves. I know, I said, and that is why she will never get it. I stood up and walked to my desk. I picked up a folder. Leo, this is for you. He opened it. It was a document detailing a trust fund in his name. fully funded. Tuition, room, board, and a stipend for living expenses. Accessible the moment he turned 18. I cannot fix your parents, I said. They have dug their own holes, and they must climb out of them, or stay in them. That is their choice. But you have a ladder now. He looked at the numbers. His eyes filled with tears. Grandma, he choked out. This is freedom, I said. It is the only thing worth buying. He stood up and hugged me. It was a desperate, tight hug. Can I come visit? Like every week? You can come every day if you want, I said. I will have the doorman put you on the permanent guest list. We can have a book club. I would like that, he said. He stayed for dinner. We ordered pizza, because even in a penthouse, pizza is a comfort. We talked about books. We talked about school. We did not talk about Linda. When he left, the apartment felt quiet again. But it was a good quiet. I walked to the bedroom. I had bought new pajamas. Silk, navy blue. I brushed my teeth in a bathroom that had heated floors. I lay down in a bed that was king-sized and felt like sleeping on a cloud. There were no creaks. There were no vibrations from a slamming door. I picked up the phone one last time before sleep. There was a new voicemail from Linda. I pressed play. Mother. Her voice was hoarse. She sounded tired. Please, I am sorry. Okay? I said I am sorry. Just call me. We need to pay the contractor. They are threatening to put a lien on the house. You cannot let them take our house. You owe me this. After everything I did for you, please. I listened to the silence at the end of the recording. I thought about the mold in the basement. I thought about the potato peelings. I thought about the way she looked at me when she called me a parasite. I owe you nothing. I whispered to the dark room. I deleted the message. I turned off the lamp. The city lights outside glowed soft and steady. I pulled the duvet up to my chin. Tomorrow, I would go to the library, the big public one downtown. I would walk through the stacks. I would smell the books. I might even make a donation. A wing, the Beatrice Reynolds reading room. I closed my eyes. For the first time in 3 years, I did not dream of walls closing in. I dreamed of open doors. I slept.